Hello, today I want to talk about Wrench in Watch Dogs Legion. He's gonna come in the Bloodline DLC. There's no trailer for him yet, but there is a promotional picture and he's definitely coming back. So I want to talk about what he could do, why is he in London, what skills he will have, yeah. First I want to talk about the character of Wrench in Watch Dogs Legion will have a few skills that I think fit him very well that are already in the game. One, the sledgehammer. The sledgehammer wrench is seen with it in Watch Dogs 2. He breaks some shit in some of the cutscenes. So the sledgehammer is a good weapon for him. Well, why not a wrench? Wrench with a wrench. Well, you know, he had the sledgehammer in Watch Dogs 2. It's only fitting that he keeps it. Here's some gameplay of the hammer in Watch Dogs Legion. It's a heavy weapon, it's very brutal, it makes a really nice sound, and it's probably one of my favorite heavy weapons. It's a real shame not many characters have it. It's a select few with not that many good perks, but it's a really nice weapon, and Wrench can fill that void if he has it. So what else? Well, he will have a grenade launcher, like when you play him in the last mission of Watch Dogs 2. I think you will definitely have a grenade launcher. He's the type of character that will just blow things up. You know, it's only fitting he gets a grenade launcher. Now, he's definitely gonna have more than 2 perks, that's for sure, but the last few, I'm not really sure. I'm thinking Hacks Propagate. The Hacks Propagate perk is, of course, one thing the hacker has, and it's very useful. Maybe even shock hacks, maybe both together. But I'm not certain of the third one. The third one is different, and I'm not actually sure what he could have for his third skill. You see, Wrench is a pretty diverse character. He can do a lot of things. He can drive. He's an engineer. He has Wrench Jr., so maybe you could give him a drone. For his last few perks, you can give him anything hacker related or engineer related, you know. You could give him shock hack and hacks propagate. You could give him fast hacks. You could give him, I don't know, escape from pursuits faster. You could literally give him anything. He's a very diverse character, and I can't wait to see what Ubisoft puts in the game. But my ideal wrench, sledgehammer, hacks propagate, grenade launcher, and maybe give him a pistol as well, just as a sidearm. Now I want to talk about a thing people don't talk about when usually talking about the Watch Dogs DLC, and that is the new appearance of Wrench, Aiden, you know, their personalities, if they've changed. Wrench will obviously be older. The game Watch Dogs Legion, I think it takes place around 2040, and Watch Dogs 2 either took place in 2017 or 2016. I'm not sure. 2016 is the year the game came out, so that's the most. That's probably the year the game takes place in. But Wrench will obviously be older. Now, we don't know if we can take off his mask. That would be something I want to see, because he was demasked in one of the missions of Watch Dogs 2, the FBI missions. Maybe he's grown out of the mask, he's grown to accept himself. I hope you get the Wrench mask for all characters, because it's probably the best look. It would be the best looking mask out of all the masks. Maybe he's grown out of that phase with the mask where he can just take it off and put it back on. We'll probably see Wrench's real name, since we can just look at his bio. I mean, we have a hint at his real name. Marcus says his first name was Reginald, which, goddamn, Wrench is a Reggie. I don't want his personality to change. Now, he may have gotten older and wiser, but I don't want his personality to change. He's always that guy, that 7-year-old in the body of an adult, you know? He's always the guy that just brings out the most laughs. He's funny, he's childish at times. He just doesn't take things seriously, and it's fun. Just like in this scene.
Marcus, I came, I saw, I blew shit up. I came again.
I do also have a theory on another part of Wrench's appearance. His hands. I think he's missing one, has a prosthetic, or just lost one. What you want to do is go to this location on the map. It's in Lambeth. It's the Albion Station, Kennington. It's one of the police stations there. It's just by the Thames, and you want to go to the 2nd floor. Now, this will all be made easier if you have a police officer or anyone with uniformed access really into the place. It's not that hard to do with a hacker or any other character, really. You could just go in there with no perks, take everyone down, and walk in. But you want to do is you want to go to this room, the room with the blood on it. Now you see it's locked. You're gonna hack into a camera and take the key. Now from there, you want to just get into the room. I think you've probably seen it. There's missions that take place down here. Rescue the hostage. If you go into that room, which I'm going to do right now, it says Bloody Mary, Bloody Hands. It's a really scary room. Scary, should have used a better word. Well, it's ominous, really. It's full of blood, but on the bed, I guess, there's a wrench mask. I'm just taking pictures with it, and if you just look over into the toilet, there's a hand. Now, I tried to disprove my own theory by looking at the hand of Wrench in Watch Dogs 2, which is very heavily tattooed. But the more I look at that hand, the more you just can't tell. It's not rendered very well. It's not a really, obvious object. While Wrench's hand was heavily tattooed, this is very bloody, very dirty. You can't really tell, and it's at an angle that you can't actually see it very well. Now, another thing that kind of disproves my theory is there's another hand in the room, which could obviously be from someone else, not Wrench. But another thing that kind of proves this theory is in the promotional material, Wrench is holding one hand up, just one. He's doing kind of a finger gun type of thing, but it's just one hand. It's not two, it's not three. Wait. Cut that out. So to understand the next part of this theory, we need to look at Watch Dogs 2's final few sentences. Not even the whole final cutscene, just the final few sentences.
How much of this is hyperbole? Has it really gone global?
There are new dead sex cells popping up everywhere. The Middle East, South America, Europe. And not just them, we can't even keep up with all the new hacktivist groups.
All right. Make the call.
You sure?
Do it.
The last thing that chronologically happens in Watch Dogs 2 is actually the end of the game. It's not the DLC. Most games would have it as the DLC, but no. In Watch Dogs 2, it's the end of the game, because after the end, it just says sometime before, or something like that. I'm not sure. It doesn't... I finished the game a long time ago. That's not the point. The point is, I thought this was gonna be really hard to explain, but no. Bloom, they were talking about all the new hacktivist groups that are popping up all over the country. Now, At this point, the San Francisco DedSec are the most powerful hacker group in the world. They exposed Dushan. They've got like years and years of just data on the CTOS. They've got hacks into it. So if a lot of hacktivist groups are popping up all over the world, it would be in the best interest of the San Francisco DedSec to shepherd them in the right direction. Now, you might think, well, why don't they just focus on their own work? Well, the work in San Francisco was done. CTOS there is dead. So, if a lot of new hacktivist groups pop in, let's just say, they could start a horrible anarchy. It could become a terrorist organization if it's not led in the right direction. They could be fighting for nothing for all they know because they've got no data on the CCOS. So the San Francisco DedSec could help them out. Now, how do they do that? They're all over the world. This is just the San Francisco DedSec. Well, as cheesy as this sounds, they go on a trip. Now, why would they go on a trip? Because do you really think the San Francisco DedSec will just go on and do a few phone calls and then that will be it? The hacker groups will be, led in the right direction? No, of course not. They need to do work. They would probably spend upwards of half a year just helping out one hacktivist group. Now, who would go on this trip? Because some of the DedSec members, I don't see them going out of San Fran. Now, Ray would definitely stay there. I mean, he's really old. He's probably gonna retire by the time Watch Dogs Legion is out. It might actually be Sitara. Sitara, it makes sense for her, right? She's the face of DedSec, and wait, her character is not good. I forgot. Nah, she is the face of DedSec after all. She is considered the face of DedSec. She does all their propaganda. She basically strings all the movements together. Without her, DedSec wouldn't, reach as many people. So it's brain dead. She's definitely gonna help with the other DedSec groups. But who would she take with her? Well, of course, Wrench. Because Josh. Why would she take Josh? Josh is a hacker. He can't do handiwork. It's just how it is. Josh is centered around hacking. Well, why not Marcus? Well, Marcus is definitely gonna stay in San Francisco. He lived there all his life. It's not likely he'll move out of San Francisco. Now, Wrench, he can do handiwork. We've seen it in his mission. He's a badass. He has a hammer, so, he can beat people. He can do handiwork, he's an engineer, and he can hack. So it's brain dead to take Wrench with her, as well. Because Marcus, as much as everyone likes him, and he's a super cool guy, he would definitely stay in San Francisco. It's just a feeling that you get from him. He wants to help out the Bay Area. And while he wants to take down CTOS, I think he would center himself around the Bay Area. As we said, he lived there all his life. He would stay there. Now, Wrench doesn't actually have any ties to San Francisco or any city. He just wants to take down CTOS. And since he can do handiwork, I mean, he is a badass, and he can also hack, why not take him with you? That's just brain dead. They go on a trip around the world. Well, why did they get to London by 2039? Well, simply because they need to take care of the States first. They live in the United States of America, right? So, if they were gonna go on a trip to help new DedSec groups, they would definitely just start in the States. It's the most familiar to them, as big as America is. Let's be real, it's the most familiar to them. They're based in the United States of America. It'd be easier for them to just travel along the country. They wouldn't need to fabricate passports, so it would be easier for them just to go in the States and take care of business there. But while they're taking care of business, we need to talk about something else. Bloom. Well, what does Bloom have to do with all this except for the CTOS? I mean, it's in London. We know the story of Bloom in London, but why would they not just spread in America? That's what I want to ask you. Well, because their whole operation has been burnt to the ground there. Not only did they get exposed in San Fran and Chicago, if Wrench travels around the States, he would burn them over there as well. The amount of hacker groups that are going to start in the States, and it is mostly going to start in the States because that's where the Bay Area DedSec is, and it's the closest link. That's why the group is mainly going to take place in the States, because that's where all the scandals came in. So they'd be burnt in the States. Their whole operation is down in America. So they'd want to spread out into London. The two people were talking about making the call. I think the call was to spread CTOS to London. Now, we don't know exactly when CTOS came to London. We just know it was after Watch Dogs 2 and before Watch Dogs Legion. But it's a great idea to spread CTOS to London because there was no scandals with Bloom in London. Hell, Bloom didn't actually exist in London. So Bloom makes the call. The call, I think, is to purchase the telecoms tower. It is the Bloom headquarters in London now in the game, and that's where their whole operation is run from. If they spread in London, since there wasn't any backlash in London, Bloom didn't even exist there really, they just decide to spread there. And that's good because they could continue making their technologies without anyone calling them out. People would like it. That's what happened with Bagley and everything, because people think Bagley is great for them. It's just an Alexa on your head. What more could you want? They don't think of the surveillance part of it, and that's basically what Bloom did. They tried to avoid scandals when they went to London by limiting their operations to only doing some things. Like they weren't doing big things like in Silicon Valley where they were teaming up with the companies. They were just on their own and still continuing to make surveillance tech, but it wasn't as invasive. They tried to avoid scandals while growing their tech. So it's great for the company. They make money. That's brain dead. And they continue making their technologies. The demand for them is still high. People's faith would restart in the CTOS. Now, this is where it gets a bit weird, because I think this is the part that will confuse the most people. How would Bloom restart in London? I mean, yes, they painted Dusan Nemec as a scapegoat and the bad guy of Bloom. The whole corporation is good, but they'd have surely lost a lot of money. I mean, every one of their partners, Noodle Titus, the whole lot, DedSec took them out. How could they restart in a completely different country? Well, it's simply Hook. Now, you might be wondering what the hell I'm saying, but in the DLC, there's a multiplayer version of it. It's a small story led by Wrench himself, where you take down a guy called Hook who's selling CTOS 0 days to a lot of companies, including Humani. Well, a lot of companies. They're selling them to gangsters, Humani, everyone basically. And in there, you're trying to take down Hook. It's an online mode, so not many people will know of it. But here you try to take down Hook. He just sells CTOS exploits to the highest bidder. Now, at the end of the 5 or 10 missions you have to do to really get the full story, you don't catch Hook. You don't put him behind bars. He's still out there selling CTOS exploits. All you do is kind of hurt some of their allies, and that's done so you can always replay the mode without, any progression being done. But all you do is kind of hurt his allies, and he's still selling them. He's still out there selling them. So that call could just mean Bloom talks to Hook. They give him exploits, he sells them, and then gives them some of the money. It's possible that the London DedSec actually started themselves without the help of the San Francisco DedSec, because Hook sold them exploits. Now, every DedSec group, we don't really know how it starts, we just know how it lives out. So we can't tell if the first London DedSec actually didn't buy the exploits from Hook. They might as well have. So if Hook is selling exploits from Bloom, and Wrench and Marcus were basically trying to hunt him down, take him down, Wrench would have an interest in coming to London. Now, after they're done in the States, if he finds out Hook is in London, he'd probably head there. Now, this is where it gets even weirder, because in the DLC Bloodlines, Wrench has to cooperate with Aiden Pierce, and they're really different characters. One of them is DedSec, the other kind of, doesn't like DedSec. And this is where it gets really weird. So Wrench follows the lead to London, where Albion sets in, and since Albion were hunting DedSec members after the zone bombings, they would find Wrench and imprison him. Albion Station, Kennington. Yeah, Albion Station, Kennington. They would torture him and cut off his arms for information, but he won't give in. Then Aiden Pierce would save him by attacking Albion Station, Kennington, because Aiden Pierce, from what it looks from the trailers, he's still a sociopath, and he still thinks he's the savior of the world because he's a vigilante. He would just maybe attack some Albion strongholds. Wouldn't that just seem, quite, wouldn't that just seem normal for him? If he wants to fight back against Albion because he thinks he's the protector of London now, he would definitely attack some Albion strongholds. So what if he frees Wrench, and Wrench then helps him? If Wrench could help him, they could help each other. They could go after Hook, maybe even find out he's working with Albion as well, and take him down together. That would be pretty cool. That would be a cool crossover between them. But these are just some really crazy theories I made up. None of them really make sense, but I just wanted to put it out there. So thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy the video, give it a like. If there's something you think I went wrong on, please tell me. If you think I'm just an absolute idiot, please go on and cuss me out in the comments. And bye.